tentacle. That's just a 2D index card. I'm not really worried about it. Oh, God, it's huge. No. Ah. Hey, you all right, dude? He's not moving.
Hey, greetings programs. It's Hanker and Farinale here, back once again in northern Runehammer. We're back here to talk about index card RPG. This is going to be the first video, and we're going to talk about like the guts, the mechanical core of index card RPG. So thanks for sticking around. Cop a sit right over there and get cozy, because we're going to go through the 6 sort of fundamental principles of why I even made a stinking RPG in the first place. What gives it its identity. And let's just see how good of a video this is going to be with a nice D20 roll. 15. This is the fundamental mechanics in the beginning of the book, in the how to play section, the very essence of why I even bothered to try to make a cohesive system. And a lot of these ideas came from just incremental improvements on gameplay at our table. The very first one is that you'll notice very quickly in ICRPG, there are no derivative stats on characters. A derivative stat to me is basically where I have one number over here and it's like 14. But actually, I never need to think about the number 14. All I need is +2. I found that for making monsters, making new characters, doing one-shots, all kinds of other little side tasks that you wind up doing a lot in the RPG life, the derivative stats started becoming really, really annoying to me because I would just sort of lose track. And so long ago, very long ago, I started doing my custom monsters just by listing their bonuses. And I know a lot of dungeon masters do this because their actual stats aren't that useful. All you really want is the roll bonus. Now, it does give you a level of detail, right? Because with a character, as the stat increases, each increase doesn't necessarily mean a change to your rolls, and you're sort of setting some goals there and working through this incremental progress and stuff like that. I see the point of having more resolution in the stat department, but as a DIY RPG creator and making content week after week for groups and so on, like living the life, it really started just becoming cumbersome to me, and I didn't really see that much value in it. So the big thing you're going to see right away in index card RPG is that stats are 1-to-1. So if I have a strength of +1, that is my strength. My strength is 1. Like that's it. There is no other number hiding back here. Let's say I have 3 character points left in my build that I'm doing, and I want to put them in strength. I've got a +3 on strength rolls. So I get my D20 out. I'm trying to beat my target, which we're about to talk to next. Ooh, 7? 4 + 3 is 7? That's terrible. The stats are direct. If I have a dex stat, it is +2. My dex stat isn't in the teens somewhere giving me a +2. So you see that derivative element to me, nope, we just have direct stats. Just saw me make a D20 roll against a what? A target? What is that? Well, usually at most tables it's represented by one of these. This is a massive D20. If you're using Roll20, you can just put it up in the corner with a little light on it in your dungeon, and everybody knows what the target is. Target is the key word here. This concept came directly out of my 5th edition group, is that we were playing, and the more we were playing and I was designing more and more complex rooms, I started consolidating everything into a single target number, and this is also called my room DC. This combined with timers is probably my most well-known sort of gameplay mechanic that I do, is that everything that you're rolling in a room, even enemy armor, is all one number, and it gives the entire room a single blanket level of difficulty. Again, you lose resolution in your game. I don't pretend that that's not true. You will lose a certain amount of detail, variability, and resolution in your game. It is true. But what I traded for that resolution is this certainty, this clarity, this speed, and also just not being curious when your turn comes what you're trying to beat. I love the feeling, and it's almost like a Vegas-y feeling, of getting ready to roll, and I know exactly what I'm aiming for long before it's even my turn. I'm going like, gonna beat 16, I'm gonna beat a 16, I'm gonna do it. Okay, I know I got +3 on my strength, just like in my last roll. I'm gonna beat that 16, it's almost my turn, here it comes. Okay, I smashed the bridge with my fist. Mod 14. I didn't smash it. Target. It's an extremely, extremely simple idea. It's just that any roll that a player makes is against a target, whether they're making a save, whether they're attacking an enemy, whether they're jumping a gap, anything. It's just a target. The DM sets it, displays it openly for everybody to see, and usually it's somewhere between 8 and 18. If you go over 18, it becomes almost impossible. If you go under 8, it becomes kind of moot. Now, there are other ways that enemies roll that give characters more resolution, but the world doesn't have as much detail as characters do. So even if you're playing 5th edition or any other game, frankly, that uses difficulty targets, like even Numenera, you could embrace this technique, which is that enemies and things in a space, a thematic space, all share a single target number, and everyone's rolling on it for the next hour or so, and they really get used to it, and it gets very fun. There it is, target. Whee! Sorry. Okay, now on the topic of targets, here comes our third one. Our third one is hard and easy. So anytime that you are playing, especially as a dungeon master, you know that you don't want all of the rolls to just be the same. You want to take into account advantages, disadvantages, tactical edge, surprise, all these things that should make rolls slightly more difficult or slightly easier. Now in 5th edition, you use advantage and disadvantage. Back in some older editions, you use +2, -2. But there is a general availability to Dungeon Masters of any amount of penalties and bonuses, especially back in the 2nd edition days. We would pile up all kinds of penalties and bonuses to get our final roll. It was part of the fun. But what I wanted was streamlined language that was natural language for the DM to use when he's delivering a roll that is needed for players. What I mean by natural language is not saying mathematic things, not saying like, oh yeah, you have a +2 bonus on this roll. That to me is not very natural language. But to say, well, make a hard roll, that to me sounds very natural. It's easy to remember and it flows, and that flow is what keeps gameplay moving quickly. So in ICRPG, a hard roll is 3 higher than the target, and an easy roll is 3 lower than the target. So if your target's 10 and you're making a hard roll, you got to beat a 13. Now, the utility of easy and hard, it doesn't just extend to announcing required rolls to players as the DM. It's also really useful as a creator in creating class abilities, loot, or monster capabilities. If I have a astro navigation chip implant in my character's brain because we invented this new class called Space Pilot, we can make the mechanic for that. All piloting rolls for you are easy. So with this really simple little piece of language, we've basically said that no matter what the target is, no matter what kind of maneuver or situation you're in, if you're told to make a piloting roll, you take 3 off whatever the target may be and roll against it with any bonuses you may have. You see, so there's so much packed into just, 4 or 5 little words. Piloting rolls are always easy. It's just such a natural small phrase, but it gives you an entire mechanic for that character. That simple naturalistic piece of language, you have changed n number of rolls with n number of numeric level into the future, all with a simple little statement. And so easy and hard give you a variable sort of mini formula that you can put on any target, and you can use it to create monster abilities, loot, character, class milestones, all kinds of things. And it gives you this nice, smooth table language to keep things trucking as you're calling for difficult or not so difficult rolls as the DM to keep the action flowing and escalating. It's very simple, but when you get the hang of it, you realize that all this resolution and variation that you had in bonuses and penalties before really boiled down to this concept of hard and easy, and it's, frankly, easier just to use those 2 naturalistic terms. So that's another big one. I want to just tell you a little bit about hearts. Now, everyone knows hearts from Legend of Zelda, and I have no cloak or bones about it. That's exactly where I got the idea. As a video game player, I have always loved the hearts representing hit points. Period. I just freaking love it. It has almost nothing to do with Zelda. I just think there's something really intuitive about seeing a little red heart go empty, and then you have only 1 heart left out of 2. Something about that just calls to me, and it makes me feel like I'm in a game, and it just warms my gamer heart. I'm not sure how else to put it. ICRPG works on a far more compact numeric scale than something like 5th edition. 10 to 20 hit points is a lot in ICRPG. It's almost all you'll ever see on most player characters is 20. Most of them are just 10. but every once in a while someone will get a heart stone and you'll get up to 20. A heart equals 10 hit points in the game. So what? I don't see what you're getting at. Once again, I used hearts to try to eliminate non-meaningful numeric variation. I hope that isn't too gnarly of a mouthful, but I saw a monster who had 13 hit points as being almost statistically indistinguishable from a monster who has 16. I've been doing that in my prep. I would be making them with somewhat arbitrary numbers. And what I realized is really those are all just kind of the same hit point level that just vary by 1 or 2. What does that really give the players? I mean, maybe it gives me some kind of snickery satisfaction as the DM doing the prep, but the players don't really feel a difference. And so what I did was consolidate hit points into hearts. And what it does, it's just like hard and easy. It gives you this large incremental jump between things' hit points, the hit points that things have. Things with 1 heart, 10 hit points. The next leap, then there's no resolution in between, is 2 hearts, which is 20 hit points. There is nothing in ICRPG that has 15 hit points, ever. It's either 10, 20, 30, 40, and so on. This gives you this significant leap. So what you can do is have kobolds attack, let's say. The kobolds are all flooding into the room, and there's one in the back that's like a big roided out, Bane kobold. Kobane. They all have 1 heart, and they come up and they begin fighting. Someone shoots the guy in the back with an arrow and realizes he has 2 hearts. That is twice as much. That is a significantly stronger enemy. The other thing that hearts really are useful for and fun for is as the DM doing prep, you're listing out the hearts on monsters and challenges and other things. Like, it's so simple. Almost everything has 1 heart. Or you can go the other way downward, which is 1 hit point. 1 hit point, 1 heart, 2 hearts, 3 hearts, and so on. A 1 hit point is basically a pass-fail, right? If you have an enemy who has 1 hit point, like a big spider bug, really all you need to do is successfully hit the thing and kill it. You're gonna do 1 damage. So having 1 hit point equals sort of a pass-fail type monster or challenge. Then you're just scribbling a little heart, or scribbling 2 little hearts on your little monster. Instead of writing all these different numbers, looking them up during play, it's just vastly easier. So that's hearts, another simple concept, but when all of these start to come together, that's what makes ICRPG what it is. Just a moment ago, I mentioned that not only enemies, but challenges can have hearts, right? What are you talking about? Okay, everyone's used to an enemy having 10 hit points. That is so not innovative or controversial, right? It's like I get my sword out, and with my sword, I whittle away, usually in 2 or 3 attacks, right? At the 10 hit points that this kobold has. Got him. Now, the concept of effort is where I'd like to think of changing this in ICRPG. Now, a lot of games have done innovations for non-combat tasks requiring more than 1 roll. So I'm not out to say that effort is this world-shattering brand new invention, but the way that it's executed in ICRPG is unique in its own right. Effort is just a catch-all word for any kind of progress that you are making against what you're doing. If what you're doing happens to be stabbing a kobold, 4 more, 2 more, there's 10, he's dead, right? That's the most familiar one. But let's say I'm picking a lock. 4, 2, 3, oh crap, I still have 1 to go. 10. Effort basically universalizes the concept of damaging a target task or a target enemy or a thing you're doing. Instead of only damage and combat getting that fun amount of detail, you can extend it to everything. Now, right away, you should see a weakness in this concept, in this RPG element. You should say like, dude, Hankrin, if you have hearts on everything that characters are doing, the game is going to take forever. Like I have to climb a little wall and it has 2 hearts that I have to do of effort and I have to roll it as if I were fighting an enemy just to climb up this little thing rather than doing a pass-fail roll. The game's going to take forever. What if I'm picking a lock and it has 2 hearts? And I'm trying to open a chest and I have to do 2 hearts of effort, like a form of progress damage on this thing just to open it. Everything's going to take forever. You are going to judiciously apply the mechanic of effort as the GM. You're not just going to blanketly say, everything in this game is 1 heart of effort. So you're opening a door and you're like rolling effort trying to open the damn thing. 3 turns later, you're opening it. No. We're not going to do that. You're jumping over a chasm. No, no, no. You don't need to roll effort. You make the roll and you jump right over like you're used to in a lot of RPGs. But every once in a while, you're going to get a task that is not a kill, but that plays like a kill. As a DM, you can judiciously make some non-combat tasks work like combat. They have a form of hit points that is rolled against to overcome. Not all of them, because it will slow the game down, but you're going to be smart about it and judicious. Now, of course, combat is still hit point based. It's very familiar, but you're going to apply this to new stuff. Now, even in old editions of D&D, sometimes you had non-combat effort moments, like smashing a door is a perfect example. It's still kind of like damage in combat, but really you're opening the door by smashing it. It has 10 hit points, and you keep hitting it with your axe until it has 0 hit points, and then you go through. So ICRPG hopes to expand the concept of damage into effort. And then we get to the effort dice. Now, I wanted to talk about this because one of my hugest objectives with ICRPG was to get more out of my 7 polyhedrals, all 7 of them. I find myself in 5e neglecting a lot of my dice, and I don't get a chance to roll them. And I like to roll a lot of different dice in a night of gameplay. So ICRPG, first of all, takes your D100, your 2D10s, and just stows it away, just like D&D, for loot rolls. That's all these ever do. That's all they ever do. And so you know that when you pick these babies up, you're rolling loot. There's no other time that you're ever using D10. You'll notice that a lot of my concepts in ICRPG involve discrete delineation, right? So with the dice, I want them to have discrete uses, not blended uses, not blurry uses. The only thing 2D10 does is loot rolls. So basic effort is your D4. This means anytime you have no implement whatsoever. All you got is your fingers and your brain. People underestimate the value of building stats onto basic effort on a lot of ICRPG characters. It doesn't sound that glamorous, right? But there's a lot of tasks, things like inventing spells, things like decoding. Next up, we have the old cube, D6. This is weapons. All weapons effort, and hold on to your butts on this one, all weapons effort in ICRPG is a D6. Whether it's a blast rifle, a sword, a battle axe, a war pike, anything. If it's a weapon, it is a D6. And you can modify that with your character build. But this is all weapons in the game. Weapon, there it is. So anytime that a weapon is being employed against you, by you, in any scenario, you know that you're going to be rolling this. This gives so much ease to the DM doing prep. If you are using claws on a monster, it's a weapon. If you're using teeth on a giant biting worm, it's a weapon. If you're using machine guns in a gangster scene, that's a weapon. First, you're going to be like, is that really enough variation? Aren't I going to get tired of it? Remember, you've got bonuses to play with. You've got stats to play with, right? But also you have descriptive tags that you can play with. And with most characters have only 10 hit points, this little guy is scary. Next, we have the next level up of frighteningness, the D8, the diamond. This is all magical effort and effect. Next, we have the next level up of frighteningness, the D8, the diamond. This is all magical effort and effect. Also, some like beam weapons. We'll even have like an ion sword. And this is another great gateway for you to create loot and milestone rewards, is that some technology is so high-end, it has a magic-like effect, an energy effect. Next, we have the Big Daddy. What about crits, you say, Hanker and Furnail? Now, normally when I get a crit in a game, like a natural 20, I'm going to double my damage. I find that to be meh. I don't like doubling. When you roll a crit in ICRPG, you roll ultimate. This is ultimate effort, the D12. This can overcome a one-heart challenge in a single roll quite reliably. Anytime you're rolling a crit, you add this. So I'm critting with a sword. I do my weapon and I do ultimate. So in this case, 10 damage right there in one roll. This is another tool for making cool character milestones. And loot is that you can say always rolls ultimate effort. So you can have a spell that always does ultimate, a weapon that always does ultimate, a spell that always does ultimate, a monster who always does ultimate. But either way, this is as high as you can go as effort or damage goes. And you play with that. You don't have to worry about 6d8 on one and 5d4 on the other and all these sort of in my mind, arbitrary and over-detailed and over-varying numeric models, this is just the top end. This is as good as it gets. A trap that's going boom, boom, boom. Each time it's doing ultimate, right? And this variation's crazy. There I get 8. Here I get 9. Here I get 7. Ooh, these are brutal rolls. Here I get 8 again. Oh, I'm brutal. And there I got a 1. So ultimate is very volatile, but it can get very, very high and get crazy. That's it. That's the effort system and the dice and the way they are made discrete from one another to reinforce the effort system. Now remember, as you think about this, doesn't seem like a ton of dice being rolled here. 10 is the average amount of hit points on anything in this world. The D12 is a god in a world of 10 hit point things. So if you have 10 hit point players and a monster comes up and they're rolling ultimate and there's more than one of them, the chances of dropping in the first round of combat are extremely high. That lower resolution is what's going to give you the deadliness, the excitement, and the speed that so far ICRPG is known for. Dying. Yes, dying. Death is a critical part of the RPG experience. It creates fear. It creates real danger for players. And it is the very substance of being a DM is keeping that fear of dying alive. Now, in my years of playing RPGs, I started feeling like the potentiality for death was extremely low. Now, I know that players do not want to get killed a lot. I don't mean to suggest that. But I just felt way too many times, and I know you guys have been through this, I kind of should have died right there. That was like too many death saves, and there was just too many ways out. It's just, I don't know, that felt a little weird, right? Now, some games don't embrace this mindset. DCC is a classic one. They fully embrace character death. And in a way, so does ICRPG. So with ICRPG, when you drop to 0 hit points, you have 2 things that happen. You roll for dying is the sort of, again, natural language that we use. D6. This, I got a 2 just now. This is the number of rounds in which they will die if they are not stabilized. It's that simple. So if I say roll for dying and you go here and you get a 1 here, this is a gnarly situation. Now, when you're down, there's only 2 ways that you can be stabilized or pop up. 1, on each one of your turns that you are dying, right? You can roll a d20, a nat 20 pops you up with 1 hit point. Very simple. The other way is that a friend can come over to you and pull what we call don't die on me, man. It's just like in a movie. You lift up their head and you put pressure on the wound and you say, don't die on me, man. To do that and stabilize a dying character, your friend has to make either an intelligence or wisdom roll on the target. Remember, that seems really easy, right? Sometimes you only have 1 chance because you rolled for dying and you got a 1. There's 1 round. So then I roll, see if I can get a nat 20 on my turn. I don't. So then my buddy runs over to me and says, don't die on me, man. He's got to make an intelligence roll. And then I realize at that moment, my character hangs on this roll. Literally. This is it. If he doesn't make this int or whiz roll, whichever one he wants to use, I'm gone. I'm dead. And I mean dead with a capital D. Oh, he rolls a 4. There, our hypothetical character just met his hypothetical end. Now, if you have any healing magic around, that can also bring you back up to a couple hit points, just like in a lot of other systems. But I'll tell you what, when you roll for dying, this is a critical moment in the game. Now, if I roll high, oh, well, there I got a 2. So for the sake of argument, we'll say I got like a 5. 5 rounds is a lot of time for your team to have chances to get you up, or for you even to get a chance to roll a nat 20. It's quite a different feeling. But when you roll a 1 or a 2 on this dying die, oh boy, it is frightening. And just last week in Eyes of Odium, we had our character go down. He went apart from the group in bird form, got into a scuffle there, got dropped, rolled a 1 on dying, and no one could get to him in time. He didn't make the nat 20. Character gone. Character dead. Tore up his sheet and everything like a crazy person. Between the generally low hit point level, the dying mechanic, and the low amount of dice, right? You're not using a bunch of multitudes of dice like in other games. You're often just rolling a single 1 with a bonus on it. Between all these things, numeric detail is shrinking, deadliness is ascending, And volatility is also increasing because your chance of high and low is more relative to your numeric scale. Now, this may seem like an insane amount of detail about index card RPG, theoretically as well as literally, but that's the point of these videos. Get everybody who's reading or thinking about reading to see exactly what's going on with some of these fundamentals in the game. Now, there's a lot more in the how to play section. There's a lot more in the game mastery section about what makes the game the game. Things like timers, things like the 3Ds and the timers, threats, and treats and all this kind of stuff. Things that you've seen in more of my videos who all found their way into the index card core book. And I'm happy all that stuff is in there, but the mechanics I've just listed to you guys are really the guts. And the reason that I have put them in and built them together as a unit is to get faster, more intuitive DIY results out of the game. DIY for both characters and dungeon masters. I really believe in a game that can be easily and modularly modified as you play or during prep by players and DM alike. And all of these things, by reducing numeric detail and variation, I hope create a far more intuitive so-called hacking or DIY experience for players and DMs. So that's where all of this comes from. The target works toward that goal. Hard and easy works toward that goal. Non-derivative stats work toward that goal. And then you cap on a very brutal dying mechanic, and the action suddenly has this bite to it that doesn't take a lot of huge numbers to become terrifying. Okay, guys, I'll see you next time. Keep it real, don't steal, and you're always going to get a deal. It's Hank from Fernail here, signing off for ICRPG. This is video número 2. Tira los dados, oportunidad de ganar. Adiós.